If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims.
Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Dr. Trupti graduated magna cum laude from the University of Illinois with degrees in economics and biology. She later earned her medical degree from the University of Illinois at Chicago, where she also completed her training in neurology, was chief resident, and pursued additional postdoctoral training and certification as a master clinical psychopharmacologist through Neuroscience Education Institute. I'm going to get a PhD in saying your degrees.
I love learning. I love learning.
Yeah, that's
Kind of a
amazing.
geek.
That's wonderful. Her early bout with insomnia in medical school led her down a path of studying Eastern forms of healing, specifically Ayurveda, for 25 years. She initially pursued formal training in functional medicine through the Institute of Functional Medicine. At that time, she joined forces with another integrated practitioner and started an integrative wellness center. During this time, she managed a team of practitioners ranging from massage therapists and nutritionists to acupuncturists and physical therapists. That center sounds amazing. Do you still operate that center?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Yep.
Okay. Dr. Gokani became certified in IV nutritional therapy and offered this therapy as a bridge for those struggling to restore energy, vitality, and reduce pain. At this time, started practicing transcendental meditation, otherwise known as TM, in hopes to share this wisdom with her patients. During this contemplative time, she felt a draw to further study the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. Due to her early exposure and personal transformation with this science, she decided to become certified in Ayurveda. She thus completed certification as an Ayurvedic wellness and nutritional counselor through Kerala Academy. Is that based in India?
Actually, at that time, it was based, there is Kerala in India, but this was based in California. And I would actually get, this is how back long ago, it was 2007, I'd get monthly CDs of the classes that I'd watch on my little CD player and then take
Okay.
quizzes every week. And it was done. We didn't have all these fancy tools like we have today, virtual learning.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's wonderful that you didn't have to travel there even.
No, thankfully, because I was running the clinics at that time and I had two kids, and it would have been impossible to do so. This is after neurology certification, so it would have been really hard for me to do anything else at that time.
Oh, wow. Yes, I can understand. So, in addition to this, she trained in pranic healing and chakra analysis to further pursue the mind. Her passion for understanding the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual connection to health led her to delve deeper into NLP training. So happy to connect with you today.
Thank you. So happy to be here. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yes. And we were just sharing in the morning, there was a situation where you could have been stressed, but luckily you're an expert in managing stress.
You think
So
after
you got
30
to
years,
practice what you preach, right?
after
Your
30
book,
years,
The
yeah.
Stress RX, right?
Yeah, and I wrote the book The Stress RX, just published in 2025. The reason I wrote it was because it has been a journey of understanding how to manage, understand, and reflect upon how stress occurs and affects us, and then really use tools to combat stress and live life in a way that we can stay authentic. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to stay optimal and happy as much as we can, you know?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, were you seeing a pattern in your clinic of people coming in that had stress, and you have your own experience of stress?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and just to share with the listeners the morning was, the power went out, and
Oh,
you and I
yes.
had, we'd scheduled this and rescheduled it because of our crazy schedules. And we finally settled on a date to do this recording. And as the universe would have it, the power went out this morning. I get up to, I was saying I was making my chai, my morning chai, and the electric stove kind of started the chai, and I turned it off, ready to pour it. Oh, it wasn't quite ready. And then I went back to turn it on, and oh, everything went out. The power went out. And so I emailed you, said, okay, I don't know if we could do this, recording today. And at that moment, and it's always that moment, and that we have where we can pause and reflect and say, how are we going to process this moment?
Mm.
Um, I I didn't know how long at that point the power would be out. I did text a neighbor to find out did this happen to her, and she said yes, it has. I had the same situation, and I thought, okay, you know what? And she told me for her house, commented, messaged her, and said it'd be back at 11 a.m. And I knew we had this potential podcast set up for 11. And I said, okay, how about this? Emailed you and said, let me just go out for a walk. So I've learned over the years one of the most important things is to pause, is to reflect and take that extra moment and ask yourself, how are you going to respond to a situation? Am I going to get upset? Am I going to get angry? Am I going to get all, kind of wrapped up with the idea of like I have no control over this? Or shall I just surrender to the universe? And I said, you know what? I haven't walked with this friend of mine I've been wanting to walk with. Let's just see. And we'd message each other saying maybe Friday morning might work out. And here it worked out. Had a beautiful walk in. And look at, came back and we started right on time, didn't we? Because the power came on right before the timing of this podcast. So sometimes it's just allowing yourself to be in the moment. And I actually believe we're tested. I believe that there is a divine force testing us at every moment of every day to ask us how we're going to handle this. And if we can handle it with grace, if we can say this is happening for us, not to us, and if we could just take a moment and try to step away from the situation, lose that sense of controlling it, and fill the gap with something else, oftentimes things will work out the way they're supposed to work out. So
That's
I,
amazing. I
yeah.
love that story because you really practice what you preached and you used it as an opportunity to regulate your nervous system and go for a walk with your friend that was meant to happen.
Mm.
And it ended up starting on time. And when I got your email,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's great.
Oh,
That'll give me extra time to do things. And then I saw that again. I was like, okay, then that's fine,
because we
but
originally rescheduled it. Yeah, we rescheduled it. And then I was like, wait a second, it went back on. We can start on time, right? And so it's the both of us were flexible, both of us were malleable and kind of working with it. And I think it does take that kind of energy. And then with the patients, you're asking about patients, oftentimes in the visit, and it was hard for me because I was working on myself also. I had this early bout of insomnia, which we can go into Ayurveda a little later. And I studied Eastern medicine way back in medical school because I was struggling myself. And I learned a lot of Eastern medicine principles while I was in the thick of med school. And during that time, I learned on how it was so important to respect the way the mind operates and not let the mind govern our being. It was a lot of the ancient principles are the power of the mind and how to use the mind to work for you versus against you. So with patients coming in, as I was seeing them, a lot of them I felt were creating stories and creating challenges that quite frankly were legitimate in terms of what they were experiencing, yet the story created a flavor that brought the challenge into a higher level. And I wanted to kind of help them negotiate that and to look at life a little differently, look at their stresses a little differently, look at how they're interpreting the world. And I often say, each one of us has very similar experiences, yet it's our model of the world. What do we create in terms of a story around that experience? And how much does that experience, that external event, apply to us and create an imbalance in our nervous system? So I started seeing patients that were coming in, mainly migraine is what I was focusing on. I ran a migraine center. I had that integrative center you first mentioned with the IV nutrient therapy. I was doing hormone balancing back in 2007, like 20 years ago. When I hear about progesterone and estrogen and all this, the Women's Health Initiative, I was doing all that way back then. So I was getting experience stepping out of the comfort zone because I'd already gone out of the comfort zone for myself in med school, learning Ayurveda.
okay. I mean, you were a
Yeah.
pioneer in that, but you just maybe didn't have the opportunity to shout it off the rooftops at that point.
Well, no one was listening.
Oh my
I promise you, in my own little world, I was screaming, but everyone's like, "You're crazy." It was 2007. This is 20 years ago. So when I remember asking at a medical conference, it was so funny. I had the microphone, and there was a question about migraine and vitamin B deficiency and magnesium deficiency.
Uh-huh.
And I knew about the gut microbiome. I was studying gut way back in the day.
Oh
And
my
my
God.
daughter,
You're amazing.
I was doing
Yes.
all this stuff because I was open. I think Ayurveda opened me up to receiving.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
open yourself up, you start to hear and receive, and suddenly things make sense. And you're like, why isn't everyone getting off of gluten? Why isn't everyone off of dairy? And this is again back in the early 2000s. So at this medical conference, I have this microphone. They're talking about B vitamin deficiencies and magnesium deficiencies and migraine. And I knew about the gut stuff because my daughter had gut issues, and I had taken her off of foods, and her migraines went away when she was 5 years old. She's now 20,
Oh my God.
way back,
Amazing.
right?
I love that
So it was
story.
so when your kids experience something like that, you're like, I believe this. Okay. So then I'm have
Yeah.
this microphone and I say to this, the presenter who was from Stanford, I say, hey, how about IV nutrient therapy? How about using magnesium IV or B vitamins IV instead of using
Mm.
orally? Because we know this thing about gastroparesis and the gut not absorbing. And I literally asked the question and he was silent. And I
Yeah,
looked
never.
around and there was a room of like 500 people. It was really weird. And I sat
That
there
is
and
weird.
I'm like, is there something wrong with me? I thought I asked a really good question. I was like, maybe I said,
IV was traditionally used for just hydration,
yes,
like in a hospital,
thank
not
you. He's like,
okay.
what
That's
are you
why. Okay.
talking about? He's like, I have no idea what you're even. And on it, they kind of chuckled and they laughed. It was a panel up there, but I was directing it towards a Stanford doc. And he's like, I don't even know how to respond to your question. And I said, okay. Um, and then they went on to the next question. And it was it. That was it. And I just thought to myself, so shouting off the rooftop, to me, that was my attempt to shout out there. Because I had been doing that in the clinic, just so you know. I was kind of asking
Yes.
it, but I was also like,
Yeah.
this is what I do in my practice. But everyone just kind of looked back like, who was that? So then, I had, because I'd gone to an IV nutritional course with Dr. Alan Gaby and Jonathan Wright, who are Harvard and Yale trained MDs, and they talked about something called the Myers cocktail that started in the 1970s, that they were given out for individuals with chronic fatigue, with pain, with fibromyalgia, and all these different kinds of conditions. And so I morphed it into a migraine cocktail and started doing that in the clinic. And
Were
yeah,
you successful? I bet you were.
yeah, really great outcome. The problem was, and the reason I stopped doing it, number one, I didn't have support from practitioners. People thought I was
Oh,
completely nuts, honestly. And second
oh
thing is,
God.
my malpractice covered it because I don't know, they somehow believed that I wasn't going to do anything crazy. They're like, okay, we'll cover you malpractice wise. But then most importantly, it wasn't covered by insurance. So every
Yes.
time I would get the bolus of nutrients sent from, it was a McGuff pharmacy, I still remember, from California. Um, and I had to cover the fee. I had my assistant who was trained in
Yeah.
nutrition therapy doing I charge $150 each time. And, people were coming in once a week and they got to be really expensive
Yeah.
and
But
then
it's
also I was like,
pretty reasonable. I mean, now it's like a little bit
it was,
cheaper, but you're a doctor. I mean,
that was
it's
also
like,
20 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I still think because I was wondering how much it cost for all of those nutrients back in the day. And I've actually done it
You have?
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got when I was diagnosed with cancer. That was
Oh,
part of what I tried as a
yeah.
supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And did you get it with the vitamin C, right? To these high
I did vitamin C and I didn't do the B shots, but I was wondering about your opinion about ozone.
yeah.
So I did IV ozone and,
Nice.
and
No, I think
vaginal ozone.
there's so much room for so many of these things. And I think the problem
Yeah.
is, like, look at me. I started and stopped, and then now I live in a center where I live in a community where there's like three of these IV centers around me, and it makes me laugh when I have girlfriends going to get their IV shots and IV nutrients. I was like, yeah, that's 20
You're
years ago.
like, I did that when people didn't believe in it.
Didn't believe in it. And it's fine, but I'm going to tell you, I've evolved from there. And I'm glad I did that back then. I'm glad I did the hormone therapy back then because I'm happy to dig into all that after I go to Ayurveda and tell you why, for the listeners, we can go into this, why I think doing this other model of what I follow in Stress RX is better than doing all that.
Okay, let's get into that
Okay.
right now.
Let's go.
What a
Let's
time to
go.
get into it.
Yeah.
And because you're talking about hormones.
Yeah.
So let's get into that.
Let's dig. Let's dig. So
You
I
got your chai.
I need the
Is your
chai
chai
because this is
warm?
a conversation. This is a ready, everyone, buckle up. This is a conversation. So, how it all began. Going to go back just a little bit in time to understand the perspective and where I'm coming from, because I think it's important for listeners to understand. Before I was an MD, I was
Yes.
training to become one. I was in my first year of medical school. I was struggling with sleep. This is 30 years ago around, and there was, let's take everyone back to the dark ages. No internet, no social media. Everyone try to imagine those young ones listening. Can you even
Yeah.
imagine a
Or maybe there
world?
was internet, but it was like
Oh yeah, it was like
very
archaic. It was like,
rudimentary.
yeah, it was
Like
like you had to
only
turn,
the universities used it.
thank you. You had to plug it in and
Yeah.
listen to that noise while it routed up, and you wait 5 minutes
Yeah.
patiently.
Yeah, right, right.
So
Dial up.
there was internet, we'll give it that. There was very little. I don't even remember emailing at that time. Maybe it was some people emailing here and there, but it was so
Oh,
limited.
yeah, you're right. And not
I don't
really. I had a
remember.
word processor of all things.
Right? I think we had some basic things there, very limited, right? Definitely no social media. We'll say that. So
Hmm.
here we are in those dark ages, and here I am struggling. And I say this for a reason because when you think about the challenges of having a health condition without ChatGPT, without social media, without
Right,
the
right.
knowledge and the wisdom. And I grew up with a doctor in the household. My dad is a
Okay.
physician,
What type of doctor was he?
internal medicine.
Internal. Okay.
So imagine I am growing up with a Western doctor in the household, even though we're Indian of origin, but he trained in India
Yes.
at a time where Ayurvedic medicine wasn't practiced.
Yes.
British had colonized India and actually put Ayurveda on the back burner, put it that way.
Yeah.
So they weren't really allowed to really learn in Western medical systems in India
Um,
about Ayurveda. Okay.
okay.
So my dad, even though
Interesting.
Indian, just so you really know that, you're like, oh, you're Indian. Why wouldn't you know about Ayurveda? If you're trained in India in the time my dad did,
Yeah.
50s, 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
we weren't learning. So anyway,
That's
so
interesting because
yeah,
my friend is India, like
yeah,
born in India,
yeah,
but came to the US right after. So she's basically American. But
yeah.
her dad is a physician and the
Mhm.
same,
The same thing.
not believing in Ayurvedic. So I really know this. Yes.
Yeah, and it's okay. I think it took me a while to figure out why. And I was like, oh, actually the training system was such. It was a very
Yeah,
Western
because
training
it like
system.
seems so obvious. This is your heritage, this is your roots, but this is your destiny to connect them both.
There you go. So here I have this early environment, Western environment, first year med school, struggling with sleep, really severe sleep issues, to a point where I see a therapist. This is where the Stress RX book comes. See this therapist. The therapist asks me, "Are you feeling stressed?" And I want, to be clear with this also that 30 years ago, we did not discuss stress and mental health like
You
we
just
discuss now.
assumed it was stressed. You didn't talk
That's
about.
whole thing you didn't talk about. So honestly,
Okay.
my response is interesting. My response was, no, I'm not stressed because you
Yeah.
see, I was programmed to be that person.
Oh.
I'll back up even more. I was smuggled out of Africa when I was when I was less than a year of age. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in the during the Ugandan Exodus, with Idi Amin was a dictator, and my mom actually snatched, kind of smuggled me out because I didn't have a visa to exit. And I bring this story up because I had this energy of like survival mentality because we left with no money. Started with no money.
Oh,
My dad did his residency over
okay.
again. We didn't have this like
Can I
luxurious
ask, was
life.
this your real mom or she
Real mom.
adopted
Real
you? Oh
mom.
my
And
God.
so
That's
imagine, and I'm
insane.
painting the picture because it's important for viewers when or listeners to understand
Yes.
there's a story always behind every condition, right? So for
Mm.
me, it was early immigrant survival, no money. My mom was like, work hard, otherwise you won't survive kind of mindset. I grew up with really, my first job was at McDonald's. Like I really didn't, we didn't have money. We didn't have money. So
Mm.
we work. I get to amazing medical school. Yay, I made it. Yay. And then
That's a gold star.
that was a gold
Yes.
star. And then I started having sleep issues. And so when this therapist said,
Yeah.
"Are you feeling stressed?" I said no because all I knew was to be on. I didn't
Yeah.
know there was another nervous system reality of my. I didn't know there was another being.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Does it
That
make
makes
sense? So
sense.
when
Oh,
you
that's
ask someone, it's really
so
important to say,
amazing.
"Are you feeling this way?" What one we want to understand with individuals is, again, back to model of the world reality. My reality is this. I visualize, I see myself in my life like this. oftentimes that isn't the true reality of either story we're creating or the story about ourselves. And that's why it takes an outside expert, be it a coach or someone to see you from another perspective, to see you and to say, hey, your operating system isn't really aligning with who you really are. And so for me, I didn't have that. So my wake up was the insomnia, literally, no pun intended, wake up. I was awake and I was struggling with sleep issues. Went to see a therapist. She said, are you stressed? I said, no. She bought that story. Oh, I guess you're not stressed. And she dismissed me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So then
so
I
did
got,
you did try the Western route. So that's the point.
I
And
tried, and then
they weren't
I went to a
giving.
psychiatrist, and this is when I finally
Okay.
found out that because I went to a psychiatrist because my dad's like, go see my friend, a psychiatrist. He asked me the very classic kind of questions to be asked to diagnose depression. Do you feel
Oh,
sad? Do you have insomnia? Do you have guilt? Do you have low energy? The whole thing. And I said yes to these questions. He said, you're depressed. Here's Prozac. And I said, wait a second. I'm not depressed. If I slept well, I'd be fine. All these symptoms you're asking me about are because of my lack of sleep. But I didn't have the words at that time like I have now. He just basically handed me the prescription. I walked out in 10 minutes of the office with a diagnosis and a prescription. Got to the car, ripped it up. Then back to the dark ages, I went to the bookstore because we didn't have social,
yeah.
you know.
That you didn't
And
take it.
they didn't, yeah. And then I found Ayurveda through the books. And Ayurvedic medicine spoke to me in a way that Western medicine hadn't. And I finally was like, ah, this is how we should practice. This is how we should understand ourselves. Ah, this is what stress looks like from an Ayurvedic perspective. Because the Western model doesn't really have the best way of understanding stress in terms of diagnosing it or seeing it or getting a tangible sense of how stressed someone is. It's the perspective. If I say, how stressed are you? I
True.
don't, kind of, maybe a little, I don't know. Not, I'm really stressed. But do we have a really great way of measuring it? I'm wearing my Aura ring. We look at the HRV. That's like the closest thing, heart rate variability. Closest thing. We can kind of wear like these devices, like the Spire devices or different devices, the Muse, and try to see. And the reality is it's hard to measure.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Ayurveda has a way to measure it, which is why then I love Ayurveda.
Yeah. And you do have a way, you have a quiz, right?
Yeah.
On your
Yeah.
website?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
my quick, fast. Are you stressed? People say, I don't know. I'll say, okay, listen, there's a quick quiz. It's like, takes 2 minutes. It's your stress personality quiz on the website,
Okay.
truptigokani.com,
Okay.
truptigokani.com, that website. So you go to take the quiz. The quiz will give you, and it's important to write down your results because you'll be windy, fiery, or earthy. And
Okay. And
then,
that's an Ayurvedic formula that you applied to your
yeah,
quiz.
yeah,
Okay. I'm excited
exactly.
to take that. I have not
Take the
taken
quiz.
that.
I want you to,
Yeah.
after the conversation, you may actually understand how to answer the questions even more appropriately too.
Yeah.
Because the quiz is giving you a snapshot. It can change over time, but it gives you a certain snapshot of where your system is now. And the goal, and we'll go into what Ayurveda is, I think will be helpful, right? So
Yeah. I would love to.
Ayur, Ayur, Ayur means life. Veda, Veda, is wisdom. It's the wisdom of life. It's the wisdom of
Yeah.
longevity, right? We want to live a long life, a healthy life. And we want to know how the heck to do that. What are the secrets to living? It's a five
Yeah.
thousand year old science, 5,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
And it survives. It has survived, even though the British colonized and said banned it. It went back into the healthcare system in 1971. So it has made its way through the thick and thin through thousands of years. And the reason why is because it is so aligned with how we connect with ourselves and the world around us. And it gives us a perspective on stress that no other system can really do. So
Mm,
it's based on the five element theory. Every single ancient healing system has overlap in some way, be it
mm,
Huna, which is what I learned about as a Hawaiian ancient medicine that's basically focused like in Hawaii. That ancient system is similar to traditional Chinese medicine, which is similar to Ayurveda. All have different concepts of elements. Chinese
hmm.
elements are a little different than the Ayurvedic elements. Ayurvedic elements are really easy to understand because they're more aligned with nature. So the five
Okay.
elements are air, space, fire, earth, and water. Air, space, fire, earth, and water. Every single living thing has five elements to their being. It could be an animal, a plant, a person. Five elements. So you can look at the Ayurvedic nature of every living thing. Okay. And then what you do is you say, in that individual or in that plant or in that animal, how much of their characteristics are air and space type energetics? And I'll go over
Mm.
these. Or how much is the fire and water energetic? Or how much is earth and water? There's three of these buckets. I call them the three stress personalities when they get out of alignment. The first bucket, we'll say the first, we call it dosha, D-O-S-H-A is the actual word in Ayurveda, is vata, V-A-T-A, vata. That's the
Hmm.
air space element personality. The second type, mind body dosha type, is the pitta, P-I-T-T-A, fire and water. And then the third type is the kapha, earth and
Mm.
water. So if anyone's coughing, because all the bugs going around nowadays, kapha, cough, comes from kapha. Too much kapha, phlegm, heavy, earthy
Mm.
energy.
Hmm.
So energy is before physical. I kind of think of
Okay.
Einstein a little bit. Energy and mass are interchangeable. So it's this
Hmm.
idea, E equals MC squared kind of concept here, is that energy and mass are kind of interchangeable and energy turns into physical, meaning that let's say I am born as a Vata, the Vata air and space type personality. What does that even mean? Air
Hmm.
and space, think of the nature of those elements. Air is, what do you think of? Light, mobile.
Mm.
Air and space, when they come together, they create like a little wind. And I was telling you,
Hmm.
we were just discussing this. The electricity went out this morning, the power went out because we had a really windy night.
Okay.
What do you think about this? So, wind blowing, it creates a disturbance, right? It turns
Mm.
power
Hmm.
off, electricity off. It's kind of funny. I'm also thinking about the wind turbines generating electricity, right?
That's right. Hmm.
So how does wind create, it turns into turning on the lights in the house. There's this interesting connection here. So wind energy, when you have a lot of air and space element to your nature, a windy person wants to move their energy,
Ah,
body, move their mouth. Love to talk. Winds are like the life of the party. If you go somewhere and you're just around that really chatty Cathy or that's a windy person. They're talking.
okay. I see. Yeah.
Wind loves to move. So if I send a windy patient to a yin restorative yoga,
Like a yeah, yin yoga or something.
saying that they're crawling out of their skin. They're like, oh my God, like you want me to sit for 60 minutes and like lay in poses and stay in a position for, you know, that
That's
is
torture to them. Or even
torture.
meditation. Even meditation, maybe.
Meditation is torture, right?
Okay, interesting.
But we resist what we need the most, don't we, sometimes?
Oh,
That's when you
because of
have
that contrast, you might prescribe the contrast to balance them out. Is that what you're implying?
exactly. And when you think about it, well, how do we define
Mm.
stress? You kind of just called it. It's that disconnect from baseline. It's if
Mm.
I'm a wind and I'm really windy, that system is what we call stressed. It's disconnected from self. The self is a wind imbalance. The self isn't this overly excitable, talkative, moving, going, doing, windy, excitable personality. So, what we want to do is create this reconnection to self. And
Oh,
back to
that's
my
beautiful.
insomnia days, problems falling asleep is a wind imbalance.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I'm so glad you're tying it back to your
Yeah.
insomnia days because I want to hear a little bit more about your journey and what you discovered about Ayurvedic medicine that helped you get your sleep back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I often say the most challenging times in our lives can be the most powerful, right? I was ready to quit medical school, everything I'd worked for, right? Can you imagine? First job at
Wow.
McDonald's, I'm in med school and I'm gonna quit. I literally was like, oh my goodness, but I was at a crossroads, this like crisis of like, I can't sleep. I don't know what to do. I'd gone months without sleeping. And so what I learned was the beauty, and I had to be in that crisis to absorb. I was young, I was naive, I was Westernly trained. I wasn't gonna
Mhm.
take on a different way of thinking unless I was in crisis, and I was in crisis mode for sure. So I started to
Mm.
absorb these books, and this is, back, when I was studying in the bookstores, and I would have my histology and anatomy book, and then take a break and go to the self-help section and read the Ayurvedic books. And I read all sorts of, I read Andrew Weil and Deepak Chopra and Bernie Siegel and all sorts of things. But somehow Deepak Chopra's, Ayurvedic books really spoke to me. And there was something
Yeah.
I was calling, right? And it just made sense. It made sense. I was really windy. I did the checklist of my symptoms and I was completely imbalanced in every possible way. Even though people said I was healthy, the perspective of health from an Eastern medicine perspective
Yeah.
is very, very different than Western health, right? Western is free of disease, free of symptoms. And even then, I was being told I was healthy, even though I had sleep issues because my labs were fine, my thyroid was fine, my blood sugar was fine. We'll get to
Oh,
hormones
yeah.
eventually, but the listeners are going to have to wait for the hormone
Yeah.
conversation. Okay, cool.
Because it can affect you physically eventually. It was just
Yeah,
because it was that short time and you
yeah,
were young
yep,
and so
yeah. You
yeah,
don't see it right away because I was in my,
right.
20s, right?
Hmm.
These things take years, don't they, to build, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So here I was in this state and receptive state. And so what I learned the most, and your questions of what did you learn? I learned first of all, the most important thing is to stop asking others for a perception of me and instead dig in and understand myself first and foremost. Yeah.
Wow, that is
Right.
so profound and empowering because it's almost like in med school they teach you the opposite.
Yeah.
You are the expert and your patients need to lean on you. So did you feel like you came from this empowering place where you empowered your clients and patients after
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And that's why I've turned
Right.
into a coach and stopped being the doctor because quite
Oh.
frankly, I didn't appreciate that model of you're going to
Mm.
come in, I'm going to tell you what to do. Who am I to tell you what to do? Like, you know you better than I know you. And if you don't know you, then there's a problem. And that's a problem. And I often
Yeah.
say, if you don't know yourself well enough, I can't help you. And so, what I first do, most importantly, is get people to understand themselves. When you
Okay.
understand yourself, and this is the beauty of those three states, the three natures, the stress quiz, if you wake
Mm.
up, you're fiery, you're windy, that's just the starting point. That's just the beginning of the journey. But at least you're going in a little bit, you're leaning in a little bit to yourself. And then there's a video, by the way, after the quiz, a quick little video, and you get a little document to read about it. Though I just say, just pause on that. Just pause and reflect on what has gotten you windy, what has gotten you fiery, what's gotten you earthy, and then to start the journey. But what I learned first and foremost is learn about yourself. The second thing I
Okay.
learned, which is really cool, is that we have a lot of resources and tools within ourselves to heal. And yet, most of us don't even know what those resources are or how to use the tools wisely. Yeah,
Yes.
but you need to know yourself first. You see, I can't, let's just say back to windy. Let's say you're coming in all windy, all moving, going, doing, excitable, having sleep issues, having constipation. That's a classic wind symptom. And I say to you, before I know any of that, you're just coming into me as a Western doctor, Dr. Gokani. Hey, I have this problem. I'm having problems falling
Mhm.
asleep. And I just say, you know what you should do? You should do some vinyasa yoga. Go do some yoga, vinyasa yoga flow. Here's a class, go do. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll do some, maybe I'll just do that. Help me sleep. And you do the vinyasa flow yoga at 8 p.m. at night because that's the only time the club offers it or the place around you offers it. And you try to go to bed and you're not falling asleep. And you're like, she told me to do the yoga. I'm doing yoga, which I thought was good for me. How come I'm not falling asleep? Two principles that are being violated if you know the Ayurvedic state. For the Vata individual, movement type exercises are not going to help the condition. What we talked about earlier, you need to do the opposite. You need to
Ah,
sit
I see.
still. You need the yin. You need the hatha breath. You need maybe just pranayama breath work. You want to
I
do
see.
really restore, maybe yoga nidra. And ideally, ideally, you do this before dinner. Yet, if you have a full schedule with work, then you do something super gentle like yoga nidra, where you're barely moving, or you're doing yin
Mm.
before bedtime. So even the prescription of that, like go do that or try, and oftentimes I don't know that many doctors that say do vinyasa flow. I would kind of tailor it, but people would, maybe a doctor say go do some yoga, right? Or go meditate, right? But they're not giving you the details. And then patients would choose
Yeah.
to do the vinyasa flow yoga.
I haven't met a doctor that prescribed that yet, but I
I'm
would
hoping.
be that would be amazing if they did. But it's not, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not that simple because
Yeah.
you have to follow the natural circadian rhythms and of your body, right?
Exactly. And know your body, know what your body's trying to send you as a message. And if it's sending you a message of, I'm having problems falling asleep, we've got to peel that back and say, which of the three buckets is that in? Is that in the windy bucket, fiery bucket, or earthy bucket? Oh, that's the windy bucket. Okay. What are the windy bucket suggestions? Slow it down.
Mm,
Give yourself some more space between things. Sit down more.
mm.
Don't move so much. Maybe I remember there was one woman that came in, she was very upset with these recommendations because oftentimes people resist what they need the most.
Yeah, because it's fighting the nature of who you are.
That's who they are. So this woman who was a traveler, she finally had the liberty to travel. Her kids were out of the house. I can respect that now that I'm an empty nester. And kids are out of the house, and she's traveling. And she was having so many auras, visual auras with her migraine. And they'd gone up in like really high frequency to a point where I was concerned she'd have a stroke, to be frank with you. And
Oh,
they were lasting longer, happening more frequently. Her cycles were all over the place. She's in her early 50s. And I said, you know what? You're going to have to cancel a couple of your trips coming up. She's like, what?
could you?
How dare you?
Dr.
You know,
Trupti.
I'm like, I'm sorry. You came to me for some advice.
Yes,
And I think the
yes.
simplest, easiest thing you can do, I know it's, February in Chicago, and you're excited to go to Europe and excited to go to Mexico, the beach, and you're excited to go to all these three different trips in the next 4 weeks, you told me, right? You had planned
Wow.
three.
That is a
Not even
lot.
joking. I'm not even
That
joking.
is a lot, to be honest, for
I took
anyone.
care of a very interesting population. I was in the North Shore of Chicago. I was a fee-for-service clinic. I was doing things out of the box so people would pay money to come, So they were not typically individuals that were willing to hear things like this. Like, wait a second, you're what? You're going to tell me that? And so I started realizing that, you know, I've got to give them boundaries. I've got to help them set their
Mm,
boundaries. And these are individuals that oftentimes it was hard to set boundaries with because they had kind of this life where they, were able to live in a certain way and live in a, certain fashion and have cocktails when they wanted and go out when they wanted and do it, and I was like, how about you cut down the drinking? How about you cut down the eating out? How about you cut down? And
what?
this,
No alcohol?
are you
That
kidding me?
seems like a good place to start.
I just got to a point where I was like, okay, listen, if you're coming in and you are paying me for this advice, I'm going to give you the advice. I'm not going to sugarcoat this because we've got like 3 minutes left. I have another patient waiting. I don't have time to explain. And I go, read chapter 3 of I wrote a first book,
Yes,
Mysterious Mind. I'm like, read chapter 3 of Mysterious Mind, and then we'll talk later. I do not have time. I'm done.
yes.
That's why I wrote my books. That first book was Mysterious
Yeah,
Minds, a little bit more for
because
migraine.
it's
Yeah,
the reasoning is so deep. I
it's
mean,
so
it's
deep.
so, and then it's multifaceted, and there's just so many aspects to it. Yeah, I
And I'm
can
like, I'm not
understand you
here.
don't have time.
I'm not here to spend 20 minutes convincing you. You read the
Yes,
chapter. If you
yes,
really
yes.
want to know why I'm saying this, go back and read that chapter on the Vata Windy state. You will read about what I talk about with travel. You will understand why. And then you will come to your conclusion if you want to cancel trips. But I'm not here to make you cancel them today. Like you figure that out. I'm just letting you know that's what you should do. Done.
Yeah.
So is there anything else? I'm like, okay. And trust me, this is coming from a place where I've been there. Don't think I haven't been there. The first time I had my pulse checked. Okay. I'm
Because
not
that's you. You are
yeah,
windy, right?
I was
Yeah.
windy. I had my pulse. I totally appreciate this. I had my pulse checked and I was working. I had two clinics at that time. I had two kids, and my only day
Oh
off was
my
Friday.
God.
My only day off was Friday, right? And I was excited to have a day off. I had Fridays off, right? I worked on Saturdays too. I had Fridays off.
Good
And
for you.
my trainer checked my pulse. I said, "How is my dosha?" You could check from the pulse too. And so he checked my pulse. He's like, "Oh, you're really vata, windy, da da da." And I said, "Oh, okay." Well, he said, "What do you do on your off time?" And I said, "Oh, my off time, I play tennis." And
Hmm.
that was like my only fun thing I did all week. Like the entire week. I mean, fun. The rest of it was working, running clinic. I had fun with my kids, but you know what I'm saying? It was like they were young kids and there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
So it's like my fun me thing is tennis with these ladies in the neighborhood on Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I was a pretty good tennis player, so there was a little bit of a competitive league. And
Yeah.
and he said, "Well, you're going to have to stop playing tennis." I think I followed him
Oh,
around
hell no.
like the entire conference. I think I followed him around, like, give me one more, and he wouldn't give me. He was so good about his boundaries. He's like, you either take that principle or you don't. I'm not going to give you a second. And I remember
Yeah.
learning from him how he did that.
Ah,
Don't
yeah.
ask me for like a second runner. Like first up is you do that. And he's like, because the cumulative effect of you doing that will help so many other things.
Yes.
It'll make such a difference for everything else. And I was like, oh God, please don't make me do that. And I finally did. I resisted. And this is someone who, when I had my insomnia, some of the things I did learned about myself. I started doing yoga every single day. And I
What
started,
kind of yoga? You
I
did the
did a
yin?
really, really soft. See, at this time I bought a DVD and I'm trying to remember what
Oh,
style because it was in the time I had the DVDs. I went to the bookstore in Barnes and Noble. Like, I
I
got,
remember DVDs.
remember?
I got Kundalini yoga.
Kundalini was amazing. This was like
Yeah.
a yoga guy from Jamaica. And I remember him saying, everybody can do yoga. Everybody can do yoga. You don't have to be. And I was like,
I
okay.
don't know why I find
It
that
was
funny.
It was
Just
so fun. It was so relaxing. I was on a Jamaica beach. I was in, Chicago, February. It was a really, so it was really great. So yoga was my big
okay.
thing. But this is
Okay.
fast forward to when I was told to stop playing tennis. This is many years later. I still resisted then because I got back into my movement state again. I naturally
Yeah.
started running the clinics, running with the kids, got windy again, right? And he's like, stop it. So, so what the big learnings I think with Ayurveda is that it's about getting to know yourself, getting to know how really stress, the way Hans Selye, which was I consider the father of stress, Hungarian endocrinologist, defines stress, is when the demands placed on the system are more than the system can handle. When the demands placed on the system are more than the system can handle. That's stress. And Ayurveda defines that as your system showing symptoms. So the windy symptoms, if you get too windy and too excitable, you'll notice wind blowing, your mind starts to race. You get anxious, you get disconnected, you start to feel like you have ADHD. Your body gets
Mm,
tight, the neck gets tight, your colon gets tight.
mm,
You go into this freeze state. Okay. The fire, think about fire, pissed off, angry, heat
mhm,
energy, hot
mhm,
headed,
mhm,
right? You start to be critical and sharp with yourself and then with others.
mm.
Nausea, reflux, diarrhea, migraine, a lot of the migraine work. And a lot of the migraine patients doing hot yoga because that was a cool thing to do in the neighborhood. And I was like, not good with your migraines. Don't go doing hot yoga when you have a migraine.
Oh, and why is that? Because of dehydration?
Because your fire state is a heat state, the wind is
Oh,
a
I
cold
see.
state. Yeah. So
Hmm.
if you're doing something
Okay.
with heating or eating spicy foods and you're a fire type, you're going to create more imbalance.
Oh, I see. That
You
makes
see how
sense.
you may
Okay.
think like, oh, I'm doing yoga. This is great.
This is healthy.
This is
Right.
healthy. But what is really healthy is aligning your practices with your nature. That's why you have to get to know yourself. If I need to say that over and over this entire time, you have got to, number one, most important thing to do, get to know who you are and how disconnected you are. Then you choose your tools. You can go following some influencer on Instagram and saying, "Oh, she did that, so I'll do that." No, who she is not who you are. I had this like Facebook, little group, Master Migraine. And I remember in that group, people were starting to comment on like, "I took this prescription Max Salt for migraine. It
Oh,
should work for you." And all I did was
uh-huh.
find a breath technique. It should work for you. I was like, stop giving suggestions to each other. And I kept saying it over and over, and people so want other people to tell them what to do or hope that someone else can figure them out. I'm sorry to break this to everybody. You got to figure yourself out. And then once you get that figured out, then you won't need. The funny thing is, then you won't need them. You're back.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get
You
what I'm
start
saying?
trusting your own.
You get empowered. You're like, I don't even
Yeah.
need. I go to the doctor and I'm like, yeah, I kind of. And she's always like, what do you think is you should be doing? What supplements should you be taking? Because she knows I know myself. Of course, I want guidance at some point, but I'm thankful and grateful to be like, mid 50s, still cycling, no hormone therapy. We'll get to the hormones, but I'm not taking any hormones. I'm sleeping well. I never took that Prozac. I never take any medications. And because I learned these principles, and if you learn them
I
and
see.
apply them, and I'm not 100%. Oh my God, I'm far from 100% with the principles. But if you can even do it 70% of the time, and proof to say you can stay healthy for many years. And knock on wood, I'm going to say this: I haven't gotten the flu, haven't gotten COVID. Like I have maintained a really healthy, robust immune system because your immune system is linked to your adrenals. And then your adrenals are linked to stress
Ah.
personality, right? If my system is always running fire state or wind state, my adrenals are going to tap out, and then my immune system will tap out, and then I'll get sick,
I
right?
see.
So
Oh
it
my God,
all,
that's so incredible.
right,
You're a
right,
testimony for Ayurvedic medicine
yeah,
and applying these principles. So can we go back to med school? So you
yes,
started doing yoga and
yep,
did you start like what are the things you did and how long did it take to get you to start sleeping again once
yeah.
you
So
applied these principles?
Yeah, so sleep issues were going on pretty severely for a few months.
Yeah.
I started applying the principles, and these are the things I did. I started doing the most important thing, laying down at 10 p.m. at night, which I was not feeling sleepy at all. I was going to bed at 3 in the morning, but I'd lie
Oh
down at
my
10 p.m.
gosh.
I know.
That's incredible. That's such a simple
Yeah.
idea and
Yeah.
concept.
And there's a reason behind it because 10, there's always a reason behind everything. It's just a long
Yeah.
answer for everything. 10 to 2 is the window of pitta, fire time. And if you can be in bed and close your eyes around 10 o'clock, your body goes into an internal processing. You take the fire energy and you start to
Hmm.
become metabolic internally. You start to cleanse your liver, cleanse out toxins, cleanse your mind, get into deeper sleep. That's one thing with the Aura Ring. I've been watching my sleep patterns, and you could see that
Mm,
deep sleep will happen in the 10 to 2 window if you allow
okay.
yourself to get into bed. So, and that was really hard. Again,
I
resistance
bet.
because I was
Yeah.
3 a.m. I was a 3 a.m. go to bed person. I mean, I was
Yeah, because
so
some people might be more of a night, you hear people, oh, I'm a night person, or so that doesn't apply to me. But this seems like a principle that could apply to everyone. Am I making an assumption here, laying down at
well,
10?
it's a great question and thought because it's there's this whole chronotype and chronobiology and like do I have a
Uh-huh.
kind of chronotype where my sleep physiology I'm better at 11 p.m. than I am at 10 p.m. I that's newer thinking. I don't know if I
Oh,
really
okay.
buy into. I think when you're a Vata type, Pitta or Kapha, you do have different sleep windows, and you can get
Okay.
away. Like Kaphas do tend to like sleep more. They tend to have a heavier,
Hmm.
deeper sleep. Vatas are tend to be a little lighter with their sleep. So there's different scheduling here.
I see.
General principle for most people, I say if you can lay down at 10 p.m. and get your sleep from 10 to 2, that window in, if you end up getting up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or 8 p.m., 8 a.m., sorry, it depends on your nature, but that 10
Right.
to 2 window is going to be for everybody because that's a fire time for everybody. And
That
so
makes sense.
liver detox for everyone. It's a universal thing.
Hmm.
Just like during the
Okay.
day, the other principle, have
I
lunch.
see.
Why have
Okay.
lunch? Because 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is fire time. Again, your fire turns on, your Agni, digestive fire, turns up, sun's at its peak. You make the most digestive enzymes in that window. This is one of the things, the principles. To this day, in my 50s, I cannot believe how many people violate this and continue to violate this. I just joined, membership to health club, and I was texting a friend, I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go at, 9 o'clock. She said, I'll be there at 12:15. I was like, I do not exercise at 12:15, and no one should exercise at noon. The fire energy is being utilized to exercise. It should be utilized to digest your foods.
Okay. So, okay, now that I've got you, I want to ask a question. This
Yeah.
is like obviously a personal question, but what do you think about exercising after that window, after 2 p.m.? A lot of people work out after
Yeah.
work or at night.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think as long as you've digested your food, if you've eaten at noon, for example, and you're
Uh-huh.
giving it a couple hours to digest, um, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, that's
Oh,
great.
then that's
That's
okay.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 2 to 6 p.m. is the Vata window. So we said Pitta is 10 to 2. So movement
Hmm.
energy. So going for a walk, exercising, doing some things then is actually okay.
Yeah.
It's just being aware, again, of your nature. If you're the Vata
Yeah.
type, you exercising may actually increase that energy.
Oh, okay.
Unless
Yeah.
your
So,
exercise is in yoga.
yeah. Okay. Because
If you're
some people
doing
do
like
consider that.
running or, kickboxing,
Okay.
that could
So
actually,
so going back to your insomnia, so then you
yeah.
started laying down at 10
Yep.
and integrating yoga,
Yep.
like what, like yin yoga?
A real, like I said about that DVD, and I can't say it was for sure
Oh
yin,
yeah,
but
that's right,
it
Jamaican
was
guy.
super chill
Okay.
on the beach in Jamaica. It was not anything crazy. I can tell you that.
Okay.
And then really important thing I started doing was this thing called an Abhyanga massage.
Oh, talk about that, please.
Oil massage. I still to this day do these massages. It's an oil massage. And
Okay.
you use very specific oils based on your type and you massage your system, your body. And I would do these massages every night and then take a bath. And I'm telling you, it was that kind of that combination of the getting to bed at 10, doing the oil massage, the hot bath. I did drink a herbal milk. I remember herbal milk with a couple herbs in there. And
Oh,
then
okay.
uh, just kept doing that every single night. And then making sure I got up at the same time every day. I was resetting my circadian rhythm, right? Training
Oh,
my
okay.
nervous system, training the nervous system to understand the sun and the moon and this system. So then it knew, hey, Tripti, you're not in danger mode. Because what I'd been doing before is drinking coffee. I mean, I can't even, right? What, and no, none of the doctors said any of this was wrong, by the way.
I'm
That's why I
sure.
laugh when I think back to all this. I was like, nobody said that was wrong. Drinking coffee.
Well, even to this day,
I mean,
no.
staying up till
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning studying, listening to loud music. I didn't
Oh,
study with like relax. I would listen. I don't even know, but it was loud. I remember being like Erasure or Depeche Mode. I remember this. I
uh-huh.
listen like really dancing music, and I'm like studying and drinking coffee. How the heck was my nervous system going to believe that it was time to go to bed and turn off the
Mhm.
cortisol and turn on the melatonin production pathway? It didn't matter if it was dark out. My system was like, "You're jacked up. You got must be something's happening because you're on. You must be running from a bear. Something keep the cortisol up, and you just need to stay awake." So of course my signals. I mean, I look back and my can you imagine the change from that to
Oh
turn
my God.
all off, turn all
That's
that cholesterol.
incredible.
I was desperate. I want to stay in med school, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I did all these changes, and I am very proud of myself for doing that without anybody. I did that with the book. That's why I'm so into writing books because I feel like you don't need to have practitioners oftentimes. If you read the right type of books that align with what you're looking for and you have trusted advisors writing those books that have credentials, please don't just follow anybody out there because everyone's talking about health and wellness in this space now. I feel like there's so much conversation and not a lot of people are getting it right. I've just been doing this for a long time. Not a lot of people are getting this right. So be careful about who you're trusting with sources of information, especially influencers.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be honest, on social media, I've seen so many people come in and like, why did you follow that thing that that person told you on social
Hmm.
media? Did you learn about their background? Do you understand how many people they successfully treated? If they're having a chronic condition and they're still having chronic condition, they haven't gotten to treat themselves. Mine is gone.
And I'm
My sleep
and I'm
issues
just gonna
are
say
resolved.
this.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say this also AI. Don't trust
Oh,
AI,
God,
please.
so careful.
Because that can be scary. I mean, a lot of people are giving away their power to AI, and
Yeah,
I just want to encourage everybody
yeah,
take Dr. Trupti's quiz and
yeah,
read her book
yeah.
instead, so you can be
Just
empowered.
start moving in the right direction with at least some science and some backing of ancient medicine to get you to move in the right path. And then whatever you
Yes.
do after that, just have some trusted advisors to guide you,
Okay.
you know?
Okay.
And
Fair
as
enough.
long as you kind of are like, all right, I get a sense, I've learned enough about my fire state that I should work on being a little more compassionate with myself, with my voice, not being so critical and judgmental, making sure fire people need to eat lunch. I should really get lunch in every day. Let's start working with that. And then fire people, let's think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing the hot yoga, right? Um, you just start, and then work with a provider that can kind of work with you on that. And I don't know, maybe give them a copy of my book if they don't get it. But I have a whole lab section in the first book. And the funny thing about that lab section, now we're going to talk about hormones, kind of running out of time. That lab section I didn't realize how much now I spend talking about a book that was 10 years ago written because everyone's talking about hormones now. So
Okay.
in the lab section, it's in The Mysterious Mind, the first book that I wrote. I have a section on optimal labs. You probably heard of functional labs, like how to I'm happy to share with everybody this idea of how to maintain labs in a functional zone, optimal zone.
I haven't. Actually, I have not heard of
Okay,
functional labs.
I'll share this with you. Uh,
Okay.
vitamin D. Let's look at vitamin D.
Okay.
And because I've been around, for a little bit of time, I've been watching the stuff with vitamin D for a very long time. When I first started
Hmm.
practicing, it was back to that Dr. Alan Gaby, that nutritional medicine course.
Mm.
He talked about this thing called the avian flu in China. Okay, now we're going back to
Yeah.
2007, right? About 20 years ago.
Yeah, but people still talk about it.
Well, this is the thing. It's now
Okay.
turned into COVID, right? The avian flu, what he was
Oh.
discussing 20 years ago, was saying it's coming its way to the US. He was talking about this bug, this virus, these viruses wearing
Oh,
masks.
that's fascinating.
Yeah. Again, it's the only thing I
Okay.
was think of this. I watched all this, and he was talking about like people wearing masks in China, and I was like, I can't believe they walk around with masks on, right? So again, this was 20 years ago. So in the course, he specifically took time on vitamin D.
Mm,
And he said, you really, all of you practitioners should be checking vitamin D levels on your patients because vitamin D deficiency is rampant. Now, mind you, I was using Quest Labs in that first integrative wellness center I opened, and Quest Labs didn't offer vitamin D testing in 2006, 2007. So, because
okay.
I worked in the North Shore of Chicago, where people tend to have funds and means, they paid for their labs, and that was an $80 thing to do. So, when you
Hmm.
add up the IV nutrient with the lab testing, it adds up to a lot, right?
Hmm.
And so they spent $80 on their testing, and we got the results back. And I'm going to tell you, I should have published, and I think I did put the data together, didn't end up publishing it because I was so darn busy with my kids in clinic and running it and all that. The gestalt was that pretty much everyone I tested was below the range. The range was 20 to 100 for vitamin D, and they were like, honestly, like 80% were below 20. It was unbelievable. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
goodness,
fascinating.
this is rickets zone. Less than 20 is you're at increases for rickets, which is permanent bone loss. This is why vitamin D became fortified in milks and all these different things. So then I started giving people vitamin D. I would give them like 1,000 to 2,000 units a day, international units a day. And then I started doing IV vitamin D therapy and all that. And then fast forward about a year later, because of all the data that was coming out, that vitamin D, low vitamin D increases risk for heart disease, increases risk for cancer, colon cancer, and different kinds of cancer, breast cancer. I think if you're post breast cancer, someone that's gone past like a almost like a remission stage, if you check your vitamin D levels, if you can keep your level at 55 and above, your chance of remission go way down or way up. Sorry,
It's
way up.
incredible.
Yeah, just maintain your level. So there's all these interesting things that were coming out. So finally, they changed the criteria to say now the lab is going to be 30 to 100. But let's go deeper in that. Having a 30, is that enough? What you want to do
I
is
don't know.
in the range, have midpoint, have optimal, be like 50. Because
Okay.
with lab testing, this is the part, and this is why I see I was running out of time, running out of time today, running out of time in the clinic, is when you really understand this stuff, you don't want to just say, oh, my labs are normal because they're in range. The range, again, 30 to 100. It was 20. They moved up to 30 because they started seeing things happening. Your goal is to get to 40 or 50.
Yeah, you want to be at least in the
Mid-range.
middle, is what you're saying.
Mid-range. So because
Yeah.
that's the health benefits are in mid-range. And that goes with everything, thyroid, everything. You want to kind of maintain mid-level ranges. So with labs that are like you're trying to keep them in harmony, organ system labs, you're looking at like thyroid, for example. So when you see like nutrient labs and you look at these hormone panels, what you want to start looking at is what is good for me. So I started
Mm.
noticing number one, that vitamin D deficiency was rampant. I started looking at why. I started learning about cholesterol and it tied up with the hormone piece. Cholesterol is the precursor to all the hormones in your body. Cholesterol gets converted to pregnenolone, which then goes into progesterone and cortisol over here, or it goes into DHEA, testosterone, estrogen over here. The reality is that our body is made so that we should kind of have an equal distribution cholesterol, pregnenolone, and then pregnenolone goes to DHEA and goes to cortisol, and it should be a 1-to-1 ratio over here. Well, because we tend to run high stress, because we're running Ayurvedic stress types that are out of alignment, we move that pregnenolone over here to progesterone and move it down to cortisol far too many times a day. When you do that, you start to number one, run out of progesterone. And that happens in women in 30s and 40s. And then you start to get adrenally overdriven and your adrenals start to shut down. And I talked about that in book one. There's a whole chapter on adrenal fatigue. And
Hmm.
I started seeing that patients' migraines and their conditions and their pain started worsening and worsening because they started running out and they started, immune system started worsening because their adrenal system couldn't keep up with this being on all the time state.
Mm.
So instead of, final conclusion, just taking estrogen and testosterone and progesterone, you want to look at your whole picture. You want to look
Mm.
at, are you balanced in your stress pathways? If you're not, start there. It's okay. I'm not against bioidenticals at all. I have in my mind space for everything out there. I think even taking some medications for some weight loss, taking some medications for migraine, all these things are okay as long as you are making sure you're taking care of your stress and you're taking care of your digestion. So in the book, I talk about three brain model. The first brain
Mm.
is how we think, how we process the world and stress and danger. Second brain is how we feel. Do we connect with our enteric nervous system and our feelings and our emotions about things? Are we vulnerable? Do we have compassion? Do we hold shame or guilt? Let's clear some of that stuff. And that's where yoga, meditation, all this work does. Beautiful things. And then third brain's a microbiome. Are we taking care of the gut? And I'm really big on the foods. Like I mentioned, like spicy food for the fired up person is the wrong thing to eat. So it is a lot, though if you just start with a few steps, at least you're taking the right path versus going way off target and doing the wrong path. Because what makes me sad is that we spent $2 trillion on wellness, and yet most people are getting stress and wellness wrong. They're spending money on fancy supplements, fancy trainers, fancy gym memberships, and doing these fancy things, and they don't even know themselves. right?
True. So start with the basics. Well, I want to go into, tell me about getting on the Dr. Oz show.
Oh, that was funny.
That was funny. Well, it's amazing.
It was, I'm saying it's funny, and he was lovely and he was fantastic because I didn't really plan on it. It was, I'm really, I'm a very spiritual person, and I've seen things happen in life where you just line yourself up and things just show up. You know, I'm sure you've seen that
Yes.
too, right? So it was a synchronicity. So I was supposed to be working, I'm actually licensed in California and Illinois. And the
Okay.
reason why I'm licensed in California, there's a reason, is because I had a practitioner who wanted me to take over her practice in California, a neurologist who also studied Ayurvedic medicine. And she's like, I can't believe there's someone else like me out there. And she's like, I'm going to be
Amazing.
really cool. So she was going to go off into this business venture. She needs someone to take over her practice. Hey, La Jolla, California didn't sound so bad to me. So I was like, okay, kids, let's get up and move.
Yes.
Now, this is when
I
I
know
had,
La Jolla.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had an integrative center, and I was like, gosh, how am I going to do this? And I kind of started thinking maybe we can move out there and I can come 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there. And I was willing to kind of explore, you know. Um, it ended up not working out. I kept that, you know, licensure there. And she was on the show multiple times. And then she was like in some meditation retreat or something in India, and she said she gave them my name. Now, I'm going to tell you quite frankly, I had not done media. I don't think the honest people even know this. Not even once before I got on the show.
I'm
And I
kind
remember,
of laughing. It's just like, to
do
me,
they
that's
even
like
know?
the pinnacle. Dr. Oz is like, obviously
It was
Oprah
like,
has her
yeah,
network. I mean, that used to be the pinnacle, but anyway,
yeah. I
now
mean,
it's
it was a
Dr. Oz.
huge honor. And I'm like, wait, what? I remember my assistant saying they called, and I'm like, the Dr. Oz show call? Is that a prank? I mean, why would they call us?
So,
Not even been the local news in Chicago. Like, what the heck am I doing on Dr. Oz? You know, I hadn't even done a basic local anything, right? And I've done talks, and I was comfortable speaking all that, but I never really, and like, this is, and I did was all pharma talks, like a lot of pharma stuff. So I was comfortable getting up and speaking. I was comfortable in front of a
yeah.
class. I was comfortable teaching. But this was a whole, like, media is like a whole something else, right? So they called me, and I didn't tell them. I'm like, okay. So I get out there. It was a whole thing. I didn't even understand this whole, like, because I am a pit tough fire type by nature. I memorize the script because they're very particular about saying words the right way. You don't ad lib. You kind of know. And I'm
Okay.
going on to in front of the cameras and the 500 people in the whatever the audience was, and there's all these teleprompters going, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that and look at him and all that. I just knew the script, so I just talked to him, and I just knew the script, thankfully. And the best thing that helped me through that first segment, because I was not media trained at all. If you watch that first segment, I didn't even have any training. I focused on the people from the audience because we were talking about the three types. And
Yeah.
the woman from the audience, I was going to give her, ready for this, an Abhyanga head massage, an oil massage. Can you believe that? And she was so nervous to be on TV. She's like,
Oh
oh yeah.
my God, you brought someone from the audience and did a massage on her scalp?
I did on the show because I was talking about the three different techniques because I really love Abhyanga massages. And I remember saying to her, listen, I'm just going to do a very gentle head massage. You just speak to your truth. Just don't make it a big deal. You don't have to say much.
Yeah.
She's like, what if I choke up? What if I this? What if I... Because she was so nervous. And this is just something for anyone listening. Whenever you're in a state where you're nervous, but you realize you could put your energy towards another, suddenly whatever you are worried about with yourself goes away. I focused just on her being okay. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't even care about the script. I didn't even care. I just knew it because I'd memorized it, and I just talked and took care of her, and she was so happy. And I focused on the three people that were up there, and I made it not about me. And suddenly I realized
Mhm.
that's like the secret to doing anything. If you don't make it about you, make it about serving and make it about giving. Suddenly you
Mm.
get your ego out of it. Suddenly you get your head out of it. You're like, it's not about, I don't like, whatever. I'm here to serve. I'm here to give. I'm here to share something with her. This woman that's really struggling. She was struggling with some of her issues herself. I'm like, let me teach you
Mhm.
a technique. It really helped me. Yeah, we'll show the show. We'll do it on the show, but I'm going to tell you how important this is. So the show, because it was kind of, it went well, and they're like, yeah, that was great. They asked me three more times, and I went four different times. They asked me a fifth time too. It was actually a gut typing show. I just was so busy at that time, I couldn't go to the fifth show, and that was
Oh.
sad because then I ended up the show ended and all that. Though I have to tell you, I learned a lot about the stress personalities. Was came from that one of the shows. He
Yeah,
said,
that's
make it fast,
incredible.
make it quick. People aren't going to sit here and process this whole Ayurvedic concept. You got to make it quick and fast so the audience can get it in 10
Mm.
minutes. I was like, really? Okay. And it forced me to start thinking in a different way. It was great.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
incredible. I'm so glad I asked.
Mm.
What is Zen success to you?
Ooh. To me, I love it. I love the concept of
Mm.
Zen to me as being in that place, which I believe that peace is that, I call it the Anandamaya Kosha, that deep sense of bliss. With that koshik, the layers of our being in Eastern medicine, we look at these kind of layers that kind of almost keep us from being in that state. And Zen to me is finding Ananda, finding bliss and being in bliss. And then pairing it to me, when I first thought about it, is pairing success with that. So, can we be the most successful versions of ourselves being in our bliss state, meaning living our dharma, right? And operating from that place? Because when you operate, I believe, from Zen, you can be successful. And it doesn't mean being on the Dr. Oz show is that might not be success for you. Success may be just like having an amazing family with incredible kids that just love you, that you feel so connected to, right? Whatever that is, whatever that looks like. It could be like, being an amazing painter, whatever it is. But what is that? It's operating from that place. So to me, it's pairing. I love the name Zen Success because to me it pairs those together really well. And that's what I try to do
Oh,
for myself too.
amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's an incredible definition. Well, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you, hearing about your books, Mysterious Mind and the Stress RX. I'll put your website, how to take your quiz, and buy your books in the show notes. And just thanks for being on my show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such a beautiful conversation, and I look forward to helping so many people as they listen to this and hopefully giving them some really great practical insights on Eastern medicine and how to apply it for the Western world we live in.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen success journey. And join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.